Hi, good afternoon. Today is September 4th, 2019. It is 5 after 2. We're beginning our 2 p.m. Town Board meeting. If we could all start by standing for the pledge. Bob, you want to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have quite a few public hearings today, but we are going to start. We have our Community Development Agency meeting, so we'll have Dawn Thomas come up and
We can do
just call.
invocation now or no?
Oh, I'm sorry. You want to just do?
Dawn, I think before you do that, we always invite our local clergy from the faith community to lead us in invocation, and we're very glad to have with us Pastor Dave Cook from the Calvary Baptist Church, who's also on our anti-litter meeting, so he's very involved in our community. So thank you for being with us, Pastor Cook.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you right now, and we just thank you so much for your grace. We thank you so much for your presence, and we ask for your presence here in this meeting, Lord. We ask that you would bring a spirit of humility, a spirit of brotherly kindness, Lord, as difficult things may be discussed. We ask, Lord, that we would consider just loving one another as we do ourselves, Lord. We just ask that, Lord, that you would, again, just bring peace. Lord, and we just pray that as this work of this town board meeting is accomplished, Lord, that, again, it would be profitable and that we would be encouraging to one another, Lord. And we just ask that for your blessing. And we just pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Okay, Dawn, now be good.
That's a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
I'm going to call the meeting to order.
Yep, so just, we're opening up our Community Development Agency meeting, and can I get a first and second for approval of the minutes for the regular meeting on August 6, 2019 at 2 p.m.? So moved?
Kent?
Just a second?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll second,
Second,
I'll
okay.
second the motion.
I'm sorry. The vote, Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard is away. Giglio?
Yes.
Wooten?
Yes.
Jen Smith?
Yes.
The minutes for August 6, 2019, 2 p.m. meeting are approved. There is no further business of the CDA, so we can go ahead and close the meeting.
We just usually open it up for comment, though, when we do
Oh,
the
okay,
CDA. So is there
public
anybody that wanted to comment on anything as part of the CDA meeting? Seeing nobody, I would like to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we will move on to our regular town board meeting at this time. I'll just read off the announcements before we go to the approval of the minutes. There is a community blood drive next Tuesday, September 10th, from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Riverhead Fire Department Headquarters Building on Roanoke Avenue. Walk-ins are welcome. All donors will receive a coupon for a free large McDonald's sandwich and with any purchase. I don't think it's with a purchase. And be entered into a raffle for 4 pop bracelets for Adventureland.
Per pint.
Yeah. A quarter pounder per pint.
Probably have to make another purchase and get that extra.
But I think you might just get it. I think they give the sandwich. For more information or to make an appointment to donate, you can call Lauren Reichel at 631-369-9136.
And she makes the best brownies to
Yeah.
reward people for donating blood, so you should really come out just for the brownies after you get blood.
Lemon drops. And also, Art in the Park returns to Grandville Park this Saturday, September 14th. So please come join us down there for all the exhibits. It starts at dusk, but when it gets dark out is really when everything shows up so beautifully, all up the lit up exhibits. So please join us for that. The 26th Annual Snapper Tournament is Saturday, September 14th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. along the Peconic River Boardwalk. This competition is open to children and adults. Trophies will be awarded to the top 3 finishers in each division, and you can register online at riverheadrecreation.net, or you can also register at the day of the tournament down at the town dock there at 10 a.m. We will also be doing another cleanup of the Riverhead train station on Saturday, September 28th at 8:30 p.m. Please come join us to help us continue to clean up the train station down there. Anybody who's interested can call my office for more details, or just join us there on Saturday at 8:30 a.m. And once again, just a reminder, anybody that would like to submit something into the record for the town board, to be received by the town board, needs to go through, email at our town clerk at townofriverheadny.gov, or it can be mailed to the town clerk at 200 Howell Avenue, Riverhead, New York, 11901. That's all I have for the announcements. Anybody else have announcements? No? Okay. All right, can I get a first and second for approval of the town board, regular meeting on August 20th, 2019 from 6 PM?
I make a motion to accept the minutes of August 20th, so move.
Second?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Jen Smith,
Yes.
Trickia.
Any order you want, it doesn't matter.
The minutes are approved.
Okay.
Do you want me to go into
Why don't-
correspondence?
Yeah, why don't you do correspondence and reports, and then we'll go on
Sure.
to, public.
Okay, under correspondence, we received, 2 letters, one from Diane Murray and the other Kathy O'Neill regarding the traffic light they're requesting a traffic light at the intersection of Forest Avenue and Route 58. Phil Barbado sent a letter of concern as to 5G rollouts. Margaret Schwartz also sent a letter of concern as to the 5G rollouts. Dennis Murray sent a letter concerning yard waste at the town landfill. And Landmarks Preservation Commission sent a letter with remarks concerning the landmarks public hearings. Ellen Hoyle also sent a letter concerning the public hearings for the landmarks and the proposed zoning changes. Under reports, there was, from the building department, their August monthly report, $44,711.25. Town clerk, August monthly report, $13,668.48. And that's it.
And I wanna thank you for putting up the letters online.
They're on there.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
No problem.
All right, at this time, we will move on to public hearings. Our first public hearing was scheduled for 2:05. It is now about 2:12. It's a public hearing regarding the sewer district extension for 1716 Old Country Road, Riverhead.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi.
Nick Bono, H2M Architects and Engineers, representing the sewer district. The subject site, the property in question is 1716 Old Country Road. They petitioned the district to extend the boundaries to encompass the entire extent of their property. After the commercial sewer district extension was originally done, it went around the property boundary. However, they've combined a portion of the adjacent lot into their property, so they're requesting an extension to go around the entire extent of what their lot currently is comprised of. With that being said, the property is already connected to the district. The flow assigned to it was about 576 gallons per day, sanitary flow, based on the former use and what the current use is. There are plans to improve the property with a service, a car dealership and a service maintenance shop on the property that are gonna increase that flow. Based on the code and health department standards, the flow increase is gonna result in a net increase of 500, just under 509 gallons per day. So in order to allow them to connect, there's a net adjustment to the no net nitrogen charge in order to connect the additional improvements on the site to the sewer district. Those no net nitrogen charges equate to $5,340.93, and it's based on the current no net nitrogen fee of $10.50 per gallon per day. Any questions?
The building is connected to public water, correct?
I believe so. I believe it is.
Thank you.
No questions from me?
Okay, Mike, did you wanna say anything, or?
That his wife makes the best brownie.
Just to simplify what Nick said, this is the old Audis Family Fun Center, and there was a piece of property, strip of land, that came down from Foxwood Village, about a 20-foot swath between there and the Brixmore property. When the Dodge dealership bought the property, they also bought that little strip, and there was a subdivision done. That little strip was never included in the sewer district boundaries, and that's what this public hearing does. And we have sufficient capacity to accommodate the additional flow.
Okay, very good. Is there anybody that wanted to comment on this public hearing? Seeing nobody, I will close the public hearing, but leave it open to written comment till September 13th. Thank you very much. At this time, we will move on to our second public hearing, which is the consideration of a special permit, site plan for J. Petroselli Development Associates, Joseph Petroselli at 420 East Main Street and 117 Ostrander Avenue, Riverhead. Did somebody wanna come up, is there anybody who wanted to present on this?
I saw Eric Russo here, but
Okay.
they're leaving. He's kibitzing.
It's hard walking around carrying a cane, isn't it?
It is.
No, but he's gonna give them some, if I made sure.
Oh,
Oh, looks like you took it all.
no, I apologize. It's here, yes. Thank you.
I just wanted to make one announcement quick. If anybody is here for a resolution from Oak Hills, just to let you know that it is not on there is no item on the agenda, addressing that today. We had thought to put it on the agenda, but it's no longer on the agenda, just in case anybody didn't know. Okay.
Just
Thank
before
you,
begin,
madam.
Mr. Russo, I'm just gonna let the record reflect that you've handed up to us the affidavits of publishing and posting for the property in conjunction with this public hearing.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Kozakevich. For the record, my name is Eric Russo. I'm with the law firm of Van Brunt, Jeswiak and Russo, with offices at 140 Main Street, Sayville, New York. I'm representing J. Petroselli Development Associates and Ostrander Property LLC, 100 Comac Street, Ronkonkoma, New York, 11779. They are the property owners of the subject property, J. Petroselli Development since November 15th of 2017, and Ostrander Property LLC since May 4th of 16. Property, as indicated by the town clerk in the call, is at 420 East Main Street in Riverhead and 117-123 Ostrander Avenue in Riverhead. It consists of 2 tax lots between for the proposed site plan and special permit today. Tax lots 600, 129, 312, and also 14. As indicated, it's on the north side of East Main Street, 73 feet from the corner of Ostrander on the west side, and also on the west side of Ostrander, approximately 175.61 feet north of East Main Street, also known as Route 25. The area of the property is 24,417 square feet. It has a dual zoning. The front portion on East Main is Downtown Center 1, and the other parcel that fronts on Ostrander is Downtown Center 5 in terms of the zoning districts. No prior applications have been made to this board for the 2 parcels, and the site plan and special permit is before the board today. The applicant is seeking the site plan approval and special permit for the purpose of renovating the existing residence. The existing residence being the Frank B. Long house, Howell House, which was the former town supervisor here in Riverhead. And the purpose is that we are seeking to convert what we had COs for here, which were offices and apartments, to renovate the existing building for hotel uses and a spa lounge with reception area. And we're adding and proposing in the rear an elevator. That there is also handicapped accessible ramps, as the board is aware, and the town clerk has advertised, and we posted on the board outside. It shows the handicapped accessible ramps with 34 asphalt parking spaces, associated drainage, grading, lighting, fencing that is going to be black opaque fencing around the portions of the perimeter of the property on the north and on the west side, as well as landscaping and various walkways with 2 entrance points, one on East Main Street, which already exists with a curb cut, but it is going to be gated with a proposed historic gate and fencing along East Main Street. And the other entrance will be an exit, which will go out onto Ostrander Avenue. However, the adjoining piece, which is the Preston House Hotel and Restaurant, has the entrance that sort of serves as a circular curve, half curve, going out onto Ostrander Avenue. We have a total square footage in the building of 4,905 square feet, which shows that on the basement area, there's 1,397 square feet, which is going to be used as part of a spa and lounge, in addition to a reception area in connection with the first floor of 2,818 square feet. On the second floor, there will be 4 one-bedroom units as hotel space, totaling 1,301 square feet, and 786 square feet for a 2-bedroom unit on the third floor. There are certificates of occupancy and letters in lieu for all of the structures presently existing for the residents on the site. In the document photograph binder, I provided you with those documents, as well as copies of the deeds. The certificates of occupancy and the letters in lieu run from 1980 to 2017, which include demolition permits for what was a shed and garage space on both parcels. There were 2 garages and a shed that have been removed. And there's a building permit that was issued back in 2017 to allow for siding, windows, and exterior improvements to the existing structure, which is why you have seen construction going on the site at the present time. Because as this board is familiar, there was discussion back at the time with the Riverhead Architectural Review Committee and also with the Landmark Commission as to preserving the Howell House as opposed to demolishing it, and that was all resolved in October of 17. In the binder, there are copies of the recommendations presently by the Architectural Review Board, as well as the Landmark Commission supporting the application today. In addition, this board, your board, has already taken lead agency status based on CEQA previously, and action taken by this board at your prior board meeting. As the board is also aware, there was an advertised public hearing and decision from the Zoning Board of Appeals as of August 8th of 2009. A copy of that decision is there, and I believe Karen Gluth has provided you with that as well, which indicates that all variance relief which was requested has been approved by the Riverhead Town Zoning Board of Appeals as it related to lighting and a few setback issues, et cetera, that were minor in nature. The photographs that I provided you with, there are 41 in the binder. Of those, 14 are of the site itself that show you the existing site and what is presently there and how it looks. And those photos were also shared with the Zoning Board of Appeals and taken by myself as of August 4th. There are 4 photographs of East and West Main Street showing you the character of the area, and north and south on Ostrander Avenue as well. And there are approximately 23 photos of all of the existing and surrounding area showing you the mix of the Hyatt Hotel, the downtown business district, the Atlantis Aquarium, the retail stores, the gas station, the existing funeral home, the Riverhead Town parking, municipal parking lot, as well as residences and the Atlantis parking lot in the downtown general zoning in the area, which is part of the permit criteria that we have to address. With me today, I have Doug Adams, who is our project engineer from Young & Young in Riverhead, who helped with the revised site plan that we submitted to you as of, I believe, just this past week on August the 26th. In addition, Mr. Petroselli, Joseph Petroselli, who is the managing member and one of the property owners and corporate members of the corporations, is also present if you have questions of both of them. We have reviewed the staff comments that we received as of July 15th and 19th that was sent to our office and the engineer, as well as to you, outlining the application. We have gone through the special permit criteria of sections 301 to 312 as it relates to this subject property. The parking required is 16 stalls. We're providing 34. There's only 16 required for the existing building. Overall, we have been asked if we would designate spaces specifically for the Howell House, which the applicant is prepared to do if that's what the board makes as a condition of the presentation. We have recorded cross easements between our property and the Preston House as well, so that there is availability and access from Preston House Hotel and Restaurant with the parking lot and the Howell House. And they have been reviewed and approved and recorded with the input from Mr. Kozakevich's office as the Riverhead Town Attorney. As I explained earlier, there's one access in and one access out going through the Preston House Hotel and Restaurant and onto the parking lot, onto Ostrander. There is also a driveway entrance that exists that it is our intention and request to keep on East Main Street, that we're gonna put a historic gate on the front and continue the gate along the front of the Howell House so that it's in keeping with the design and character of the area. Our request is to keep that there, and we're going to discuss that further with the New York State DOT. And the purpose behind that is there's no real direct access into the building for a delivery, or if we have to access for repair without having to go through the parking lot and come at it from the rear with the landscaping. So we prefer to keep the existing access on Main Street, but then again, not for public purpose, just for our own activities at that particular location. Our application has been reviewed by the Highway Department and your Fire Prevention Department, and we are in compliance with all of their requests that they have outlined for us. And we're in keeping with the international New York State building and fire codes in terms of our design and what we're seeking. There is a dumpster provided. It will be enclosed. It's on the northwest corner as shown on the site plan. We have lighting proposed that's dark sky compliant. And there was a question about how it might have spilled off a little bit to the municipal lot and our adjoining lot, because we also own the parcel immediately to the north, which is on Ostrander. It has a letter in lieu for purposes of being used as an office, and we also use the rear for some garage storage for our operations there at that location, and we have an access to it on the northwest corner. In our opinion, there is no dust, noise, light, electrical, odor, smoke, or irritants that will be emanated from the proposed property as required to be demonstrated by your code. The sewer district and the water district we are within. We have letters that have gone out to them, and as of today, we have seen comments back from Karen Gluth to our office indicating that she's awaiting their comments, so it might be conditioned upon your approval. But we anticipate that we will be accepted in the sewer district and there'll be no issues with the water district. The hours of construction we're proposing are Monday to Friday within the normal hours that the board may state to us. We're anticipating 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and to be done by 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. No work done on Sundays and Saturdays, limited to maybe the morning hours only. But then again, it's subject to your consideration and the operation as needed for construction. There are no traffic issues or design issues as it relates to traffic, as we're not impacting anything further at the present time. There are beehives that are on the site, as well as a garden that we use in connection with our farm to table for the Preston House restaurant that we would prefer to keep there, and they're shown as part of the landscaping design. All necessary town fees have been paid to date, and we've provided to the town attorney, which they've reviewed and approved, the title for the property. I believe that reviews all of the code criterion pursuant to 301 1 through 12 of your code as it relates to the permitted use, which is the special permit for the hotel, under 301, 157B, let me see here, I apologize, 30157, I believe is where it's listed. No, that's the DC-5, I apologize. 301, 141,
It's the 12
B.
special criteria.
It's the special permit, and then the criterion are in the other section that I was just referencing. I believe I've addressed all of that. We have copies of every document that I've provided you with in the binder if the board has the time to review it or has any questions. If you have further questions or the public has questions about the site plan, Mr. Adams can address those. And if there are further questions about the operation, Mr. Petroselli is available to answer those. If there is nothing else of me, I believe I've addressed everything that would be required for the special permit and the site plan before you. And the reason it's here is because it's in the downtown historic district, and as such, you have the authority and jurisdiction for site plan review and the special permit. Unless you have any other questions of me,
I just have one question for the Architectural Review Board, that you said the approval, you changed the site plan.
The Architectural
Recently-
Review Board decision is in the document binder for you, as well as the ZBA decision.
Right, that's back in July, and then what did you
Correct.
change after that?
The the Landmark Preservation approved the application on July 11th, and that letter is in the binder. It indicates that they voted the approval of the plans for the elevator tower, which is what the Architectural Review Board was looking at, and they had seen that design. The Architectural Review Board was July 23, in which their board had their meeting on July 15 and reviewed, and what they were looking at were the elevations, and they approved and granted the electronic review, which is the documents that are before you today. There were no questions.
Well, my question was, I thought you had just said, I thought you had said you recently updated something.
That was the site plan.
That was the site plan.
What
Okay.
happened was Ms. Gluth had given us a round of comments, and we went point for point. In her comment letter was as of July 19th and 15th, those two letters. And what we did is on August 27th, we provided her with the revised site plan and outlined all of her items and questions and responded accordingly to her correspondence, which this board, your board, received a copy of. There were 10 items that addressed items 8, 10, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 26. And we outlined what our position was and how the plans reflected the concerns she raised.
I'm still, and I don't know who would, do you wanna come up? Yep, come up and answer, yep. Yep.
It's a pleasure to see Ms. Gluth. She's been very helpful. I'm good. I'll step back.
I just wanted to clarify that the Howell House,
Something you said?
the Howell House requires 16 parking stalls. They're providing 34. The signage for the parking lot will indicate it's for the Preston House and the Howell House. However, if no parking stalls.
Sorry to cut you short, Karen, I forgot, special prayer. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give be truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, all right.
If none of the parking stalls for Howell House are actually reserved in some manner by a pavement marking or a sign, then anyone from Preston House Hotel or a restaurant could park there. And Preston House is in the parking district, so they're not required to provide any parking. So that's why I requested reserving parking stalls for Howell House. As far as cross-access agreements, Eric is correct, there are some in place, but at the time we didn't foresee the 3 parcels kind of being one development. So there's going to be additional agreements that'll have to be filed, including one for pedestrian access to the parcel to the north, which is going to be used for offices, did you say?
No.
Or, go ahead.
So the parcel to the north, which I believe is 129 Ostrander, which we own under a different corporation. I believe it's under an LLC, 129 Ostrander LLC.
You're very creative with those names.
I know. We tried. And at the moment, it has a letter in lieu as the front portion as an office, and the rear has a garage storage area. There is a gate that's shown on the site plan on the northwest corner, as I previously said. There is no access on the east side because the way we figured that we would access it is simply by walking on the sidewalk and going around to that portion. It's also in the DC5 district, so at the present time, they have a use as an office, and we haven't actually started utilizing it, but it may be used as administrative office for the existing 2 buildings, but that's where we are.
But at that point, you'd have to have the cross-access easement, is it?
Well, we have one being shown on the rear for the garage portion, and we're just gonna walk around on the sidewalk to the front of the building. Parking for that exists either on the street. At the present time, it's not required because you have a letter in lieu as office space. If you remember, I believe that was a dentist's office at one point, and their parking was on the street. So we are not showing any cross-access other than the rear northwest corner to access the garage, which the town attorney has reviewed. We're not incorporating the Preston House Hotel and Restaurant because that particular parcel enjoys the benefits of the Riverhead Town IDA. It also enjoys the benefits of the municipal parking district. So it stands alone on itself. We are showing cross-access because we're using it to get from the hotel and the restaurant out to the parking lot, out onto Ostrander. So when you look at the site plan, it goes in on the hotel, and they can access and drop off guests in the hotel, and then go out onto the side street. So some of the parking may be utilized, the 18 additional spaces, by the restaurant or by the hotel. But the benefit of the hotel and restaurant is that we're in the parking district. So as such, we didn't have to show any parking for the restaurant hotel. We do have cross-access that we've provided from the Preston House Hotel and Restaurant into the parking lot. So I think we've addressed it. And as far as signage for 16 spaces, we could put up little monument-type signs, or we could paint that depending on what was most aesthetically pleasing to the planning department or the board as a condition of the approval.
I think Karen's point is that it is not in the parking district, and as the hotel fills up and the restaurant fills up, if they use the access, then that facility will then be using the public parking as well, as opposed to providing their private parking for it, and that's why the dedication is.
The only concern was that people don't know that these are reserved for the Howell House.
Yes.
And that other users may use them. So I
Except-
don't think it's a major issue, just some sort of signage.
I don't view it as an issue because first of all, if you're coming to stay at the hotel, there's going to be valet, and there's also going to be direction for people dropping off their suitcases, telling them and direct them where they can park. As far as the Howell House is concerned, they need to have 16 spaces based as shown on the site plan and pursuant to the code. We can easily identify those without an issue, because if you're going into the Howell House, you're going to take one of the walkways to the front to enter because of how the layout is designed. So there's not an issue in identifying it. We can select those and work those out with the planning staff if the board says that it's a condition that we must identify 16 spaces.
I still have questions about the curb cut on Main Street and how that's gonna be gated off and what it's going to be used for, because, you know, in trying to create the walkable downtown, you don't want that many curb cuts coming off of Main Street, and I know that you're asking to maintain
It's already there.
that.
It's already there.
Well, I know, to maintain that curb cut there, and then you were saying that you were gating it off, but still gonna be used. So I'm not quite clear on.
Well, we're gating it off because that was one of the comments that we also received from planning staff, that it should be gated.
I'm saying I agree with that, yeah.
It's fenced off now.
It's all yours.
The only request was to show what it would be used for. The DOT had requested that it be not used, the curb cut. DOT, I guess, would ultimately be the arbiter of that, so.
Yeah, and I thought that,
Well, there's one other point, and Ms. Gluth didn't raise it, but in the fire marshal's review, he was enamored with the fact that there was another access to the front of the building because of the fact that you can only access it through the rear parking lot, and there's parking there, so this way, if there is an emergency, fire prevention units have been known to go through whatever is necessary to get to the fire. So the gate and the fence, obviously, if it was in the front of the building, I'm not certain whether they would go through the gate, take the time, maybe they'd knock over the gate.
They could come through.
Whatever would be necessary to battle the fire.
They get to it through the parking lot.
But I thought you had mentioned when you were talking, you said deliveries also.
Yes, well, what I said was
So
if
it would
we
be a
had
very
to.
active road, then.
No, I think what Eric said
What
was
I'm
that
trying to say is if someone.
future maintenance or something. would be
Maintenance,
a truck, yeah.
exactly. If something had to happen and we needed to get to the front of the building, it would be used for that. I mean, obviously, if you were coming, you would come heading west and you could turn in, and if we know we're coming, because it would be our people, they would obviously have the gate open, so there wouldn't be a delay of turning in or,
And this is, how wide is that?
on Main Street.
hold on.
15 feet.
Yeah, if you look at the design, it's approximately 12. It's showing at the front portion, it shows you on the north side of the building that there's 10.4 feet. And if you will look at the driveway, it's widest at the street level. So it's wider, so as Mr. Adams is echoing here in the background, approximately 12 feet.
So that will be a one-way street, and is that the
It's not a, well, it's a driveway.
Go through.
Okay, so you're not.
But
I
it's
thought
not
you were gonna
going
have-
to go through because we have plantings and a tree that we're also preserving at the back end of the parking lot.
My point is that then you're gonna have a truck backing out up on Main Street, because they can't turn around in there. Right?
Well-
So now if you have a delivery truck coming in there, or whatever it's gonna be used for, it will back out of there onto the sidewalk?
I thought I saw Mr. Petroselli say that it wasn't going to be used for deliveries, that deliveries will occur through the back of the building.
Yes,
So
but
that-
this is if there's a maintenance issue or a service issue, that's why the driveway is there. We want-
It's a driveway, first off, and I think it would improve that property line. The second thing is, backing a truck that's gonna be there 6 times a year is not a big deal.
If it's only
If
six
you
times
see
a year, if
truck,
they
you
wanna
see-
write that in.
You should see the Arizona truck and the Pepsi truck back out of that onto Main Street from the stationery store across the street, and I'll see somebody backing up traffic. I
Right,
don't
so
see that-
that's
I don't
why-
see that being an issue.
So why would we continue to do that at other sites then? Because we know it's an issue at other places.
What's
So,
that?
to not have this be, if you go in, just have it be one way going in, that you can't back up out
Well,
of
you
it,
got- you
or
got-
you
you
can't
got-
receive
You
deliveries
got a
through there,
10-foot
that's
driveway,
also.
you have a.
I think that
You
there
have a
would,
10-foot driveway that's gonna go maybe 40 feet to the side of the house, and it's gonna be used so infrequently.
But it's not a private residence, it's a commercial business.
But it's made to look like a private
I
residence.
understand that,
So,
I
you know,
understand
it's
that,
opposed
but
to aesthetics.
I would just like to see a limit on it.
would you accept a condition of the special permit that it wouldn't be used for deliveries?
Let me speak with my client, one moment. The answer is yes,
Thank you.
okay?
Well, it's gonna be a spa, right? So
But it's a,
shampoos can come in through the back door.
well, here, if you look at the site plan, Madam Supervisor, what you can see,
You know, we have the July 25th version, so if you can give us an updated version,
I
that would be helpful.
apologize, I
Thank
didn't
you.
know that you didn't have it.
And it's really hard to see.
I have additional copies if the board would like.
We just gotta be careful we don't put them on the microphones, that's all.
Yeah, we can just, yeah.
there, all right.
Karen has another copy there.
I've seen it,
You guys would want to
so.
see, James?
See what?
I need to see it.
See, this is the curb, this is the curb cut here.
Thank you.
So I'd like to be one way, or no
People
delivery.
going in there.
I think that would be
Yeah, no delivery,
Yeah,
He said he didn't wanna do deliveries, so, but I'd like it written in there, no
yeah,
deliveries.
yeah,
I think
so
that's a good idea.
it would be one way and no deliveries in the driveway. Mr. Russo?
Yes, ma'am.
So you've already said that there was no objection to no deliveries how about one way, so that you go in and you back up, or it's just, it's the way it's gonna happen anyway.
My advice to you would be that it's probably best to access it going from east to west, so that this way, if you're concerned about traffic on Main Street, cutting across at that location, it doesn't, I mean, we went through the trouble in building the Preston House Hotel and Restaurant to create and eliminate the crossing guard, and we have the automatic crossings that you now have going across Ostrander and East Main Street. So if the board was concerned about accessing it, then a condition, if that is what you want, that says that accessing that driveway would be from east to west, that would be one, how you would get in there as opposed to crossing over. I don't know if that answers part of your concern. The other part is there are services there that Mr. Petroselli is indicating that are there that may need to be accessed, so it would be used, you know, if the need came to service those as well. You can't drive through into the parking lot because it would change the parking lot configuration. It would also change the landscaping. So it couldn't be one way in and one way out. I mean, obviously, you would have to drive in. There's no way to turn around because we're trying to preserve the integrity and the design of the house and the front yard and the landscaping that has been proposed. So obviously, we would have to have somebody there if they're backing out to either ensure that there's no traffic as they're coming out, or
So
I don't
think
know what else to suggest.
If you could eliminate you know, if you have the no deliveries there for the, if you had to back out, I mean, obviously, if you're, what you're saying is if there's an emergency repair that needs to go on, or what other uses are you looking to use it for besides, if you had an emergency repair?
That would be it.
All right, so if we take the deliveries out.
Because as I was indicating to you earlier, if you were coming in and you're going to the parking in the rear, you can see the handicap ramp that's there on the north side, and it goes to the entrance in the rear of the building. So that would be where the deliveries are, or they would come around to the front based on the walkways that are being shown on the site.
And unless that somebody accesses it open, my other concern is people just pulling in there thinking that's the driveway to get in.
There's
Well,
gonna be a
people
gate.
wouldn't because it's gated.
It's gonna be
Right.
gated,
And the site plan shows that there's a gate
so
that's.
it'll be gated at all times other than
Correct.
during emergency access? Okay.
Correct.
Okay,
And as a matter of fact, it says there, new gate. If you look on the site plan, it says in the front portion by the sidewalk, just
so there'll be a new,
south.
a
It
new,
says a new gate, so
it'll
it's
be
closed.
With a
closed.
beautiful brass sign that says private, no entrance. I can see it.
I think when your landmark commission and your architectural review board looked at the design, you know, the modifications that are here were not substantial, and the two boards, the commission and the board, approved the design that you're looking at here on the plan. The revisions we gave were in response to comments that we received from Ms. Gluth and the planning department.
I think, like I said, my concern is, we've also had the BOA study, and part of the BOA study is the walkability of the downtown and the limiting the curb cuts on there, on Main Street to encourage that walkability, and that's really my concern with this.
I don't have an issue with that,
So-
but we, again, are not looking to eliminate that particular driveway access.
Okay.
And the properties combined, the frontage on Main Street is like 150 feet wide, 148 feet wide. So
Correct.
you could always walk around to Ostrander to get through to the other side, because the funeral home is to the west, and you can walk straight through in order to get to that street, so.
The funeral home is after your municipal lot. If you
Yep.
look on that site plan, it shows you
Right.
the asphalt parking lot, which is the Riverhead Town Municipal Parking Lot. After
know.
the lot is the funeral home, and if you follow the site plan, the sidewalk runs from Ostrander, but if you're on site between the hotel, the restaurant, and the Howell House, you can see that there's cross-access with walkways, with masonry patios that are shown in front
See
of the
that.
Howell House.
I'm
and-
just saying, towards your argument,
Yes.
that the lot is only 150 feet wide.
That's
So
it.
to put a walkway on the western boundary of the Howell House, to me, doesn't make sense, because they could just walk 148 feet over and take Ostrander Avenue.
They can do that too. The distances are there.
Laura was.
No,
She's
someone
saying
else has-
walkable communities.
She was talking
No.
about walkability with curb cuts. She was
With
talking about
curb cuts.
walking on that.
Yeah, not to park and, to
But
park
I'm
once and
also
walk.
talking about, with your walkability issue, within the two structures themselves, if you look at the site plan, in front of the Howell House, there is patio areas that you can navigate from the main street to the back parking lot, across to the restaurant and the hotel. And then there are patio areas and walkways going from Ostrander onto and into the Howell House.
No, they complement each other very nice. I mean, it looks beautiful over there.
You're just gonna really shame us into doing something with our parking lot.
Well, I think the municipal lot and the landscaping could use a facade
Could be the bomb.
or a frontage improvement, yes, that's possible.
So, and then I would just also like to add that with the criteria for the special permit, sections 301 through 312, I know that you had mentioned it on the record, but if you could submit a copy of a letter identifying all 301 through 312 for the record, so that the clerk may have that.
Not a problem, we can
Very
do
good.
that.
And then, as far as the gate is concerned, I believe that that should be reviewed by Landmarks and ARB to make sure that it is consistent with what they've already approved, and then we won't have any problems in the future going forward.
I don't think there would be an issue with that.
I don't think so either. I'm just saying, you're
The
adding
landmark
something new.
has been very cooperative as
You're-
it comes to this.
Yes, and sitting with the landmarks, for the last 10 years, we're very appreciative of the work that Mr. Petroselli has done with the 3 houses that he has renovated that were from the early 1900s, 1905, the East Lawn House, and then we have the Howell House, and then the Preston House. So we thank him for that, and for keeping the character of Main Street on the east end of town, keeping its historic appeal. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
No, I think Karen, if you wanted to.
was interrupted, so I just wanted to.
Nope, go ahead.
finish up quickly. So, where was I? So, as far as cross-access, I'll work with the town attorney on whatever additional agreements we need. And then as far as the water district, I believe Eric said that they were waiting for comments from the water district, but I don't know if you had gotten them or not, but I did forward some additional comments from the water district about maybe the water line being insufficiently sized and galvanized piping and things of that nature, so. Yeah, we just would need some additional information.
Okay.
And I think those are the major points.
Okay, so just when you get the response, just provide it to the board.
Can I keep this,
We
Vic? Can I
did
keep it?
see the,
Nice.
we did see the email that came through, I guess, this morning about the water district. And when we looked at it, that's why I said earlier that we would comply with conditions as laid out with the fire, the sewer, and the water, highway, and New York State DOT. Whatever they are, we would work them through.
Of course, thank you.
I have nothing further.
Okay, at this point, anybody from the public, if anybody would like to come up and address the board?
It's a win-win.
So, seeing nobody, then I'll just close this, right, Bob?
I can't wait to see it. I
Yep.
can't wait to
So
see
I'll
third
close the
floor.
public hearing, leave it open for written comment until September 13th.
So you can get those sections 301 through 312 submitted in writing.
Do you want the landmark commission at that point?
No,
I don't think
just
that's gonna be
just the
possible.
criteria of the special permit, so that we have, the clerk has it in the file, rather than
I'm not-
looking back through the minutes.
Because landmark won't be until after that date, if my memory serves. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric, don't forget your cane.
All right, we will now move on to our third public hearing, which was supposed to start at 2:15.
I know this is a little bit out
What's up?
of order, the 2 public hearings for the blighted property.
Okay.
I have Rich Downs on standby.
Okay.
I know that I had asked the board if they would entertain a request coming from the town attorney's office. It was made in part due to the passing of
Sure.
a family member.
Yep.
So, and I know that there's members from the county, Lisa Ozato is here, and Lisa, I'm sorry, Donna Wade is here as well. And I think the property owner who's also involved in court with it is here, so.
Which probably from West Main Street?
Do you want to just adjourn?
I would just, rather than open it, just adjourn it for 2 weeks. We've had some discussions with Mrs. Sato about possibility, things that the county could do in the interim while the case is pending to make the property more presentable. If we can't achieve it, we, I think, agree that we'd go to public hearing and put the matter on the record at the next town board meeting, if that's acceptable, which would be September 17th. Okay.
And this is for 8:40?
This would be
be
for both, so
For both,
it's,
because
Oh, good for you.
Mr. Sims is now represented by an attorney.
Okay,
And the attorney is here?
She couldn't be here, she was taking her daughter to
right, she
school.
wrote a letter, yes.
She
Yes,
sent an
she
email
adjourned.
yesterday asking if it could be adjourned. I never want to predict the ability to get the restoration done, but I have to say that the chances of being able to do it have improved.
You mean we have a chance out of 9 public hearings to get rid of 2 right now?
That's the hope.
Sounds good.
All right, so I'll call the public hearings and then adjourn them.
Thank you.
So, the 2:25, public hearing, a hearing was supposed to start at 2:25. It is now 3:55. It was chapter 2:55. It's chapter 217, the consideration of a blighted property at 849 through 853 West Main Street. We'll call to adjourn that until the September 17th meeting.
And that would be at 6:05, I presume?
Did you get a chance to ask the property?
No, I have others scheduled.
Okay.
So we'll
We
have to check
determine.
on the time.
Okay, all right.
Might be 6:15.
Let's do 6:05, it can always come, if need be, we can do it.
Okay.
Okay.
And the other, public hearing that was supposed to begin at 2:30, again, it is now 2:55, chapter 217, the consideration of a blighted property at 1501 and 1595 West Main Street, to adjourn that until, also till September, 17th at 6:10.
Thank you. And I'm sorry to do that.
That's
but
okay.
Just so that people here stop, get them on their way. Okay.
Thank you. All right, so now we will move on to the third public hearing that was supposed to begin at 2:15. It is now 2:56. The consideration of proposed local law to amend chapter 241 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Landmarks and Historic Districts, Article, what is it, 3?
So I, as liaison to Landmarks Preservation Commission, did receive a letter from Richard Wines that the clerk had also received, asking that we adjourn this until such time as the Landmarks Preservation Commission can come and meet with the town board at a public work session.
I had also met with the Landmarks Preservation Commission, and what we had discussed with them is that we would begin to hold the public hearings, but adjourn them and leave them open till the September 16th meeting, where there would be an evening meeting, and they could then come to discuss it. So I would like to hold the public hearing, and then once we listen to the public at this meeting, we can adjourn it so that they can attend the 6 o'clock meeting on 17th.
Adjourn it and hold it open until the 17th?
Well, no, that
So
we would
you're actually gonna open the public
We're gonna open the public
hear
hearing.
any
we'll
comments?
Hear any comments.
And then adjourn it for keeping up to
Additional
date till next
comments.
quarter.
Okay, in case
So-
there's somebody here who wants to speak on it? Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So, Bob, did you wanna review? We'll have you review these
Again,
bit by
are
bit.
we talking about chapter 105, article 3?
We are talking about chapter 241.
241.
241, I just wanna make sure, cause I know they were all kind of
I know they're
together,
mishmashed.
so I just wanna make sure.
So this one is
Sure.
241, Article
All right.
3.
Okay. On chapter 241, the proposal as an overview, if, is to hear from the public with regard to 1, 2, 3, 4 sections that are being proposed for changes. They are sections 241-3, 241-4, 241-5, and 241-6. With regard to 241-3, the first change would be to add the word procedural. I know that there's been a ongoing discussion prior to this meeting between the Landmarks chairperson and Anne Marie Prudente in my office, my deputy town attorney, who was involved in the preparation of these changes. And one of the things that he raised concerns about was the inclusion of the word procedural in the first sentence of 241-3, which is entitled Compliance Required. We've looked at that, and we believe it would be a very small change that would not require further hearing, and if the word was removed, it would not materially impact the legislation. So we are suggesting that that would be a recommended change. If the landmark still wants procedural out, we would not be opposed to that.
And has the board had a chance to take a look at that? I'm fine moving the word procedural.
You can, yeah, if it's,
So,
something was added in, we can just delete it.
Yeah.
Continuing on with 241-3, the second part of it read in the negative that no permit would issue. Now it's been changed to read more of an affirmative that a permit for demolition, alteration, improvement of a structure shall include, and these are the words that are added, shall include and require compliance with all conditions or requirements set forth in the approval of the town board. So now there's it's just sort of a flip-flop of wording, and before where it said no permit shall issue, it's now saying that a permit shall issue, but it must include these details. The second set of changes are all found at 241-4.
Just for clarification on that one, Bob,
Yep.
it also, the way it was worded was very confusing, and it had in it, if a proposed or if an area was proposed for designation as a landmark.
Right.
So it was, you know, what, the clarity on that, because that became very,
Correct.
very
Yep,
confusing,
yep.
what that encompassed. So it's, if it's in a historical district.
Correct.
So not something that may at some
Correct.
time, or
Yep.
somebody's, it doesn't really, can't define that.
Yeah, it clarifies that too, that's correct. In 241-4, there's a number of changes to subsections B, C, D, E, H. I don't know if you want me to go through them line by line, but now there's a requirement that that all applications for a building permit which are not part of a site plan, there's additional language that's been added to subsection B, which says that they must transmit their recommendation, whether it be approval, denial, or approval with modifications to the town board, and that's gotta be done within 45 days or the referral of the application from the building department.
Which section is that?
That's 241 for subsection B.
B.
241's dash 4 subsection C provides a 15-day trigger for the town board to act when they receive the recommendations. And it states that in the failure of the town board to issue a report or recommendation within 15 days, the building department may accept the recommendation of the landmark preservation. So there's a default, if you will, if the town board fails to act. That's new. That was not in there before. Subsection D of 241-4 now states that on any site plan application, it's got to be referred to the board with authority to approve. Subsection E, we added planning board again to be consistent, so that if it's a site plan, we know it's town board or planning board.
Should C also be town board and planning board?
No, because the town board has the final say.
Right, I mean, that was,
That's the intent.
That deals with, as I read
Oh,
this,
that's different. Okay, yep, yep, yep,
That's
yep,
with
yep.
regard to a
I'm getting
non-site
confused,
plan
yep.
scenario.
Okay.
Okay.
That's non-sign.
And then, same change with subsection H, where we added town board or planning board. Last but not least, well, actually, it's not the last but not least, because we had further changes. There's a hardship change, a change in the way hardship criteria, or someone would appeal from a denial. Before, it was the town board, now it's the zoning board of appeals. And last but not least, we added to subsection 241-6, when we're talking about the remediation of unsafe conditions, we struck the word "or" in front of maintenance and added additional language "or demolition," so that we included that scenario as one of the enumerated cases where the building department must use this chapter. So before it was just alteration or maintenance, now it's alteration, maintenance, or demolition.
All right, so that's our first public hearing. If anybody wishes to come up and comment on that?
I would just like to say that I've been sitting with the landmarks for 10 years, and if it's not broken, then why fix it? I think there has been one case that's been appealed, or maybe two, Michelangelo's and
Preston.
the Preston House, that were appealed to the town board, and over the 10 years that I've been sitting there,
Suffolk
only.
Theater sign? No?
No, because the majority of the Landmarks Preservation Commission approved the Suffolk Theater sign. So it was only 2 applications that came before the town board for appeal. So I think the Landmarks Preservation is doing a great job. I'm concerned because in the old section of the old code, chapter 73-3F, had the position that any application which is not recommended for approval may be appealed to the town board, which shall hold a public hearing within 45 days of receipt of appeal and shall render its decision at the next regularly scheduled town board meeting. I feel that by the Landmarks Preservation Commission giving a recommendation, and then the town board having 2 weeks to say, we don't like that recommendation, or we do like the recommendation, and then if they want to appeal it, they have to go to the zoning board of appeals, so now they have to make an application. I just feel that it's going to delay progress, and I think that the Landmarks Preservation Commission is doing a good job. I also know that the other towns that surround us, that the Landmarks Preservation Commission is a regulatory board, as is our Landmarks Preservation Commission now. and that there is grant money that's available that other towns take advantage of, that is the certified local government status, that makes available grants for $10,000 to $15,000, that if the town board is the decision maker at the end of the day, based on recommendations by the Landmarks Preservation Commission, we would not, or none of our storefronts on Main Street would be eligible for that grant money. So I think that the regulatory authority should remain in the name and in the place of the Landmarks Preservation Commission. I don't think that any applicant, besides one this past year, has really objected to what the Landmarks Preservation Commission has done. And in speaking to Mr. Petroselli on several occasions, he appreciates that we have architects and engineers and historic designers on the Landmarks Preservation Commission, whereas the town board, as far as I know, doesn't have anybody with that knowledge or that prestige, and neither does anybody on the Zoning Board of Appeals. So I don't know why we're taking it out of the hands of the Landmarks Preservation Commission and putting it in the hands of the town board for the final say or the Zoning Board of Appeals for the final say. We have done a great job in establishing a National Historic District downtown, that we are on the map. People come here, we're scheduling walking tours. I've seen, some things that have happened that I voted no for on this board that I didn't like. And that has to do with the face of a building downtown. And I just think that it belongs in the hands of the Landmarks Preservation Commission and people that are qualified to review these applications and these renderings.
Bob, can I ask you one question, please? There's probably a couple of questions, but I don't think in the 12 years that I've been here that the Landmarks ever had regulatory. I mean, of course, every application goes before them, and the town board does heed a lot of their advice and do rely on their expertise in these fields, and 99% of the time follow their recommendations. So is there any substantive change in this that takes any sort of procedural, I know we're taking that word out, but I don't think this changes the role of the Landmarks and the role of the town board.
My understanding is you're just cleaning it up and
I
actually streamlining it.
I would never diminish the Landmarks, because I appreciate all that they do, but I don't think that this does that. I don't see it as a adversarial
I think
legislation.
It
this
does.
chapter is not the one that I would look to
Not this
for
one.
the question.
Right, there's
I would say instead, look at chapter 105, article 9, which describes the various boards, and this was recodified when we renumbered, and it says at 105-44 that the LPC is an advisory body.
Okay.
Both the LPZ legislation and the Architecture Review Board, both of them define those bodies or those committees or those commissions as advisory.
Haven't they
That's
always
what
been?
the statute says.
Haven't they always been?
No.
That's the way the legislation has been
No,
since I've been here.
It's contradicting. Legislation is contradicting, which is why
Well, that's
we're calling it a
just to the point
cleanup.
here,
Well,
that they
Right.
were
So-
advisory,
No, they were
they
never.
have been advisory,
Okay.
and there's conflicting, language to that. So, I mean, like, even, as I said, even in this one, if it is a proposed, and this is just goes for clarity, why, when you look over it, if it is proposed or designated as a landmark or within a proposed historic district, that needs clarity. I mean, it was written that way, and if you're an applicant coming in, you have no idea whether you should be going before them or not.
Well, 73(3)(f) in the prior town code said, any application which is not recommended for approval may be appealed to the town board, which shall hold a public hearing within 45 days of receipt of appeal and shall render its decision at the next regularly scheduled town board meeting. So that, to me, reads as though they were more than just advisory.
Well, I think that's just bad verbiage. They're talking about,
No, this
probably
was
they're
in the
looking for
old code.
relief, not appeal. They're looking for.
Relief, yeah.
Right, so I've said what I need to say, and I'm sure that members of the Landmarks Preservation Commission will be here to agree with what I'm saying, is that they have
Oh,
always been
well,
more
then-
than,
Then I'll just say we heard it.
All right, is there anybody from the public that would like to come up and comment on this? Seeing nobody, I will adjourn this and leave it open till the September 17th meeting. We'll next move on to number 4, which is a consideration of a proposed local law to amend Chapter 209 Architectural Review, Article 1.
This is the same type of thing, right?
Yeah. That, all of these really are for
Cleaning it up.
clarity, because when you looked at what we had written in these different codes and then what we have in site plan review, none of them were clear on the language, so it's made to clear up the language that was there, so it's consistent.
disagree. I think it's being done for other reasons, but that's my just personal opinion. And with the Architectural Review Board, I agree, if it's working, then, if it's not broken, then why fix it? And the ARB reports to the planning board and says, these are the recommendations we would like to see. The planning board is reviewing the site plan and the application, so in my opinion, the two have been working very well together for the last 10 years that I was sitting with them. So I don't see the necessity for these changes per se. I think it's gonna delay the process. I think it's, again, another 45 days of referral to the Architectural Review Board and all these timeframes where it really runs very smoothly.
I think, this is, part of this whole procedure is to streamline this for developers.
Okay.
Because previously what happened was something would come into to the planning board, it would be distributed to all of the boards. Even Landmarks and ARB were reviewing plans before SECR was even started on it. So, you could have them, discussing stuff with an applicant, and the applicant might be changing things, and it may not even be the building envelope that they're allowed to be building in. So this is really to streamline this for the developer. So it comes in, you start your SECR process, it goes to the ARB, it goes to Landmarks. It actually also empowers Landmarks and ARB, because beforehand they'd make their recommendations, but once they made their recommendations, if the applicant said, well, I don't want to do that, the recommendation was not going back before to be incorporated into the SECR process and the scoping process so that those things could be implemented. So it actually gives more consideration to both of these boards to be able to have their recommendations heard and implemented to help to develop our historic areas and to help improve the architecture that we have in our town.
No, what it does is give the town board the final say, which I think is the goal. Because the SECR laws were already amended earlier this year, or the end of last year, and that said that it was a review that would get distributed to Landmarks Preservation or ARB or any other entity that had an interest in the application. So that is being done by changing the SECR laws previously, not by this legislation.
Okay, is
What's wrong with
is Bob going over the changes?
There's
Bob,
nothing wrong with that, it's being done under SECR.
Were you going to go over the changes for this one?
Or which one?
This one is
209?
this was
The ARB.
209, Article 1.
Yeah.
Decisions made should.
Can you
should
go over
rest
that?
surely on this town board.
With the legislative body.
Sink or swim, good or bad, it should rest with this town board.
Oh,
Okay, Bob, can you go over that just so the public knows?
Okay. With regard to Chapter 209, the changes are not as extensive as with the landmarks. I think some of them have already been spelled out and mentioned. One of them is to amend the time in which the ARB has to review an application. It says now 30 days. It's going to have the words added in, or at its next regularly scheduled meeting, but not later than 45 days of referral, so that they have to try to take it up immediately at the next meeting, and in no case, no more than 45 days. The other change is that we no longer allow an applicant to seek any kind of an extension. This is under 209-1C2, where if the Architectural Review Board finds that the proposal fails to meet with the declaration of purposes and review objectives of Chapter 209, the applicant doesn't have an ability to ask for an additional time for them to consider that. So they have to go back to the drawing board, I guess, under those circumstances. And
Delay.
Yeah. Under 209.
Or they would complete it within the time frame.
Or they're stuck with whatever the recommendation, but they've, so that's.
They have to implement the recommendations.
Right. Not 209-3, says that the Architectural Review Board shall, the change is basically states that they're not going to design projects for, the applicant. So there is a deletion now, which says that, what's being deleted states the following: except on request of the proponent or his architect. So, the whole sentence reads, currently, the Architecture Review Board shall not design or assist in the design of any buildings or projects submitted for approval, except on request of the proponent's architect. That second part, except upon request of the proponent's architect, is being proposed for deletion. So it just shall state, without any wiggle room, they can't design or assist.
So what's a recommendation?
The
Is that assisting, if you're making a recommendation, that you
Well,
change a
can we-
cornice on a building?
Can we let Bob finish? Was that all the
The
changes?
next, no, there's 2096, we are saying that it's not the chairman who will furnish the information, exhibits the architecture review board as a whole. So chairman's being deleted and replaced with the words architecture review board, and then last but not least, all of 2097 is being deleted.
Is there anybody from the public that would like to come up and comment on this public hearing? Anything from the board?
I just wanna mention that both of these boards, Landmarks and ARB, do a great job, and I agree, there's a lot of expertise on both of the boards. The way I see these, they're cleaning things up, they're streamlining it, and frankly, they protect the members of the ARB and the Landmarks. You know, I think that, I like the part about, you know, that they shouldn't be designing it, they shouldn't be. I think that puts too much on them.
Well, every time I've sat with the ARB and the Landmarks, they say, we're not here to design your building. But go look at downtown and see what we've approved in the past, and try and design your plan around that. I've seen recommendations on cornices and corners, including the town board, sitting here, as a matter of fact, with the Georgica Green project, making recommendations and assisting in the design and saying what you want on the cornices and what you don't. So, I just,
We go on the advice of the ARB and the Landmarks, and frankly, to your point, this backs them up on what they say. So we're helping them, and it's not major changes.
All right, seeing nobody else, I will adjourn this until September 17th. At this time, we are moving on to, the next one was scheduled at 2:15. It's now 3:17, which is a consideration of a proposed local law to amend Chapter 105, Boards, Commissions, and Councils, Article 9, Landmarks Preservation Commission.
And that just clarifies whether it's advisory or not.
Two small changes, are proposed on this one, and, and they're both at 105-45, and the words "act on behalf" are being deleted in both instances under subsections B and C, and replaced with the words "review and make recommendations."
so before they could act on behalf of the town board, and now they can only review and make recommendations, and the final decision lies in the hands of the town board.
But Bob, this was always an advisory board, did it not always lie within the town board, and this is consistency of language?
The prior section, which is 105-44, states in its body that the LPC is an advisory body.
And
And
this
this-
says,
And that's-
so then why
that's the
can't we just
current
leave this?
legislation.
This
Where
makes
it
it a little,
says-
this cleans it up, it makes it clearer, they're already an advisory board, I'm good with this.
Well, this legislation says that they're to act on behalf of the town board, and we're taking that away and saying review and make recommendations to the town board. And in my opinion, they have a lot more status as far as what buildings should look like in historic districts than the town board does, or the zoning board.
But we're the governing
Again.
body.
Okay.
We approve the site plan.
We are the
correct.
governing body, we do listen to them, they're advising us.
Well, I think it's more exacting as to what the one section, this is kind of contradictory if you look at it the way it's written. To review and make recommendations is more inapt with what I think the legislation was originally for. To act on behalf almost gives them our authority.
That's what it's always been.
Yeah, well, that's never been a problem.
And that's what, and we've had 2 applications in 10 years, Jim, that
I
have
know
come
that,
before us
because
to say that they
goes-
have a problem with their recommendations.
That does more to bolster my argument, and I appreciate you giving me the support for that. It goes to show you that this town board listens to these committees, and 99% of the time go along with their recommendations.
I hope so, because there's a lot of demo proposed for downtown for historic structures.
I hope so too. I want some parks done.
Well, that's why, we need to be able to work together, all together. I mean, the information that they provide us is invaluable. And then, to be able to take that information, not just from ARB, but from Landmarks, and then come back and be able to digest all that and use the advice and go back to them if we need other advice. And also, frankly, I think that if it's a major project, that we should invite them to be part of the process here and to
Absolutely.
present to the town board what their recommendations or findings are, along with whatever they write to us, because I think that would go a long way to you know, you can't always put down on paper. I think having them be able to come and present to the board during that period, I think would be.
Well, if an applicant comes to us to dispute or to appeal, as you wanna say, one of their recommendations, you can bet darn well I'm gonna talk to them and get their opinion on the,
Correct.
whatever.
So anyway, the Landmarks Preservation Commission is asking to come before the town board next Thursday and speak about this legislation, so I hope that we can schedule them for next Thursday.
All right, at this time, would anybody from the public like to come up and address this? Seeing nobody, I will adjourn this and keep it open till September 17th. And at this time, we will move on to the next public hearing, which is number 6, it's in my hand, 215. It is now 3:20, which is a consideration of a proposed local law to amend Chapter 105, Boards, Commissions, and Councils, Article 3, Landmarks Preservation. That's not the one we just did, right? That's another, that's the
No,
next one.
we didn't.
That was the architectural review one, okay.
No,
we're up to-
no, we just did landmarks, now we're gonna do ARB, which would be, right?
Did I do
This
this?
is what I have.
Let me see.
Trying to keep them in.
Okay.
At least that's what I spoke
Okay.
to,
In
was
tight
a change.
order here.
I just had them written. Okay, so this is Boards, Commission, Councils, Article 3, Architectural Review Board.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
all right. Again, this is to hear from the public regarding proposed changes to chapter 105, article 3. Most of the changes are adding the words town board or planning board in various places to clarify that, in the case of a site plan review, that it's either board, that's the reviewing agency that's making the referrals to ARB. The other change is at 105-13, which talks about the changing, it's just a little bit of a change in words, to require that when the architectural review board provides their written report and recommendations to the building inspector as provided under 105-13, that they state there in writing its recommendations. So that's the new word that's getting inserted, and the words that are being deleted are findings and conclusions. The last change is at 105-14, and it's deleting the word private meetings from the header, and it's deleting the second sentence in its entirety. So the deletion, that the proposal, if accepted and after hearing from the public, is that the words as follows will be deleted. However, nothing herein shall preclude any member or members of the board or staff from conferring privately with the applicant or his agent, as long as any understanding reached by such private deliberations be disseminated to the remaining board members before recommendations made on any proposal, and except insofar as such private meetings are in contravention of the state law.
That may happen, but you don't wanna say that.
Yeah, so,
So that's being deleted.
that's being removed,
I don't know how-
no more private meetings.
Who wrote
I
that?
don't know how that got in there, but it's there.
That's scary.
All right, anybody from the public that would like to come up and comment on this public hearing? Seeing no one, I will also adjourn this until September 17th. At this time, we will move on to the hearing scheduled for 2:20, it's now 3:25. The consideration of a proposed local law to amend Chapter 301 zoning and land development, Article 56.
I have one more. I seem to be missing a couple pages, which I don't know why.
I have this one, Bob, do you want it?
All right, I have it now, all right. So, as pointed out, the changes are, to, be made to the site plan review provision, Article 56, which, are essentially found at 301-305. We're reducing the number of copies that initially need to be submitted in the preliminary site plan from 14 to 10. We're also including a number of default time periods, so that at the preliminary site plan application stage, which is 301, 305B, at the final subdivision site plan review stage, which is, God, I just lost the section. Some printed on the front and back, and that's
That's,
not a good way to
section
do it.
6C.
Yep, we now have a provision in there that says if the applicant fails to follow up and address issues which have been indicated to be incomplete or a failure to conform with site plan requirements, their application will be deemed abandoned. And there's a great deal more language than that. It goes on for a while, but that's the essential change. So that now there'll be that provision. Also, it's at the preliminary site plan application stage. I failed to pick this up after the public hearing's held. So there's 3 places where that will now appear. In addition, the planning administrator or the chief building inspector will be the one who will be sending out the notice to let the applicant know it's been abandoned. So this is something that I think the town board was concerned about, that the applications seem to languish, and essentially now we're adding these provisions in which allow the planning director or the planning administrator and the chief building inspector the right to declare an application as abandoned.
I think that this section of the code should be submitted and attached to every site plan application, so that when people come in and file site plans applications, or when they get the application, a copy of this legislation is attached to it, so they know what's expected of them.
Well, let's pass it first.
Jeff, did you wanna come up and say something?
Well, I'm sure it's gonna pass.
Good afternoon, Jefferson Murphy, Building and Planning Administrator. We're much appreciative of this draft legislation. I'll just give you one example. We have a final site plan application that I am reviewing that's been sitting in my office for 2 years. I have corresponded on numerous occasions with the applicant's attorney, asking what the disposition of the application is. He said he would get back to me. He has failed to do so. At this point, if I had this legislation, I could just throw the application out. It's, at this point, after 2 years of sitting there with inactivity, it's taking up our space, it's not being reviewed.
Stick it in a FedEx envelope, return to sender, and call it a day.
But there'll be a 30-day notice, so somebody could come and get all their
And I've
stuff
noticed,
back.
like I said, I've emailed the attorney and corresponded on by phone, and he said he'd get back to me after conferring with his applicant, and there's been no response.
Alright. Is there anybody from the public that would like to come up and comment on this?
We don't want wheelchairs.
Seeing nobody, I will close the public hearing and leave it open for written comment until September 13th. And, no, that's all of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause we did the 2 voted already. All right.
I'm sorry, are we closing it, or are we just leaving it open?
No,
for
we're closing that one, but leaving it open for written comment until the
Oh.
13th.
Okay.
Because it was the landmarks and ARB that we
Oh,
wanted
okay.
to have.
You mean the 13th or the
For written comment till the 13th,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
The other ones were adjourned,
'cause
I'm closing this.
Those were the ARB.
And landmarks,
okay,
and they had
so-
asked us to leave them
okay,
open so that
alright.
if somebody wanted to come to the
Okay,
evening meeting, they
alright.
could.
Yes,
So-
you're right, okay.
All right. At this time, I'd ask anybody, we're moving on to resolutions, right? We're ready to move on to resolutions? If anybody would like to come up and comment on any of the resolutions, to please come forward. Seeing no rush to the podium. We will move on to resolutions. Jim, I think you're reading this, there is some changes to the first resolution. There's a paper copy.
That's
Yes, I have
662.
it. Yes, I got it. Oh, yeah, all right, so I'll have to.
Yeah.
Resolution 662, it's an amended resolution. It's a resolution to retain certified environmental professional. The addition, do you wanna read the additions?
I can if you want.
Yeah, why don't you?
Sure.
I mean, I could, but you sound so much better than
You are in the real mood today, aren't you?
I. Get in there.
First change would be in the first and only whereas, where we're taking out in the second sentence or second line, the words "or preparation," with the understanding that the retention of this this environmental professional will be to review the draft EIS, not to prepare a document. The second change is in the last sentence, which is adding the word "east," so that we know it's 203-213 East Main Street. The other change is in the first "resolved," and again, the word "or preparation" is being removed to make it clear that, again, the services being requested are the review of the draft EIS, and then the words also, so that's in the third line. Continuing in the third line through the fourth line, the words "scoping and such other review forward / preparation of documents necessary for type 1 seeker is being deleted. And then in the next line, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth sentence, the word east again is being inserted between 203-213 and Main Street. The final change is at the very end of that first paragraph. The words in an amount not to exceed $16,000 is being proposed to be added. So those
Very
are the
good.
amendments.
So I'd like to move this resolution as amended. So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Jen Smith.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 663.
Accepts the resignation of a public safety dispatcher 1. So moved.
Seconded?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Jen Smith.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 664.
Laura, this resolution was signed by 3 board members. This is actually ratifying the appointment of the person agent.
Okay,
They're planning on starting on the 9th, which is set in the resolution.
okay.
All right. 665 authorizes attendance of Justice
Wait,
Allen.
we didn't do that one yet.
664.
So this one, 664,
Did we do it already?
can I have first and second to ratify
What the hell?
the appointment of a purchasing agent?
So moved?
I'll second.
All right, moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent,
And welcome aboard to Teresa. She's gonna be a great addition. I vote yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
Good luck, yes.
Jen Smith.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 665.
This authorizes attendance of Justice Alan M. Smith at the New York State Magistrates Association Annual Conference. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Jen Smith.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 666.
Authorizes highway superintendent to attend the 2019 New York State Highway and Public Works Conference. So moved.
Seconded?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Jen Smith.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 667.
Just have to amend that to towns and cross that out. Yeah, just as amended, yeah.
Okay, for this resolution, we're amending, in the third line,
Did you clean that up already?
towns. We're amending towns, cleaning it up. In this-
Where?
In the first paragraph, we are crossing out agreement.
Did I just only have that in mind? Did you update it, Diane?
I don't have agreement in the third sentence.
Yeah, this is what I got.
No, it's on here.
Oh,
It's on
yeah,
here.
towns that are.
Oh,
It's just,
supposed to be like that?
yeah,
Is that-
yeah, it's just
Yeah,
cleaning
we
it
don't-
up.
I
Some
don't have
typos.
those.
Yeah.
Okay.
oh, it's supposed to be
Yeah.
deleted out
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Authorizes Lawrence M. Levy, DBA On-Site Productions, non-pro-tunc, to provide additional cable cast production services regarding the annual Town of Riverhead, Town of Southampton cardboard boat race on August 10th, 2019, Peconic Riverfront, and contractual payment for services rendered, as amended. So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent,
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Jen Smith.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 668.
Authorizes town clerk to publish and post a notice for request for proposal for placement of communication/cellular towers on town property, sewer district yard waste facility, Osborne Avenue Highway Yard, and Wading River Highway Yard. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Jen Smith.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 669.
Authorizes purchase of 2019 Hitachi wheel loader for use by the town highway department. So moved.
Seconded?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Jen Smith.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 670.
Authorizes purchase of 2019 dump trucks for use by the town highway department. So moved.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
It's a lot of CHIPS money. Yes.
Jen Smith.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 671.
Budget adoption to expend Suffolk County Award of HUD Home Grant Funding. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Jen Smith.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 672.
Authorizes the supervisor to execute early voting polling place agreement with Suffolk County Board of Elections for use of Riverhead Senior Center at 60 Shade Tree Lane, Aquabog. So moved.
Seconded?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
I'll be there, yes.
Jen Smith?
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 673.
Authorizes the supervisor to execute a license agreement with the Darkside Productions Incorporated, the fire prevention safety training course. So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Wooten?
Yes.
Jen Smith?
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 674.
Oh, my goodness. Approves the Chapter 255 application of East End Rowing Institute LTD for the 12th Annual Snowflake Regatta on Sunday, November 3rd, 2019. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Well, I hope people turn out for this on November 3rd. It's such a great event, and it's a perfect family thing for down by the river.
Yeah, let's.
I vote yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Wooten?
Yes.
Jen Smith?
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 675.
Is it me?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, is it me?
It's you. It says
Approve
Councilman.
settlement of claim made by Patricia Tingle. So moved.
Seconded?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Wooten?
Yes.
Jen Smith?
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 676.
Good Christmas,
Where's
man.
Tim? He usually gets these. Refunding bond resolution dated September 4th, 2019, a resolution authorizing the issuance pursuant to section 90.00 or section 90.10 of the local finance law of refunding bonds of the town of Riverhead, Suffolk County, New York, to be designated substantially public improvement refunding serial bonds and providing for other matters in relation thereto, and the payment of bonds to be refunded thereby. Who wrote that?
A lawyer.
So moved.
Sounds like Emily. I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Wooten?
Yes.
Jen
Extra
Smith?
words.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 677.
This establishes sewer flow for Tanger 1 Riverhead Sewer District. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Wooten?
Yes.
Jen Smith?
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 678.
Order approving extension of the boundary of the Riverhead Sewer District to include Jarrell Extension Properties, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600, Section 118, Block 3, Lot 2.2. So moved.
Seconded?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Wooten?
Yes.
Jen Smith?
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 679.
Cromer Avenue Drainage Pipe Repair Budget Transfer. So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Wooten?
Yes.
Jen Smith?
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 680.
Authorizes notice to bidders rehabilitation of Plant 4 Contract E, electrical upgrades, Contract M, lime system replacement for the Riverhead Water District. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Wooten?
Yes.
Jen Smith?
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 681.
John, this is both well, these are both well,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry, go ahead.
681, secret determination regarding proposed improvements to well number 5 for the Riverhead Water District. So moved.
Seconded?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Wooten?
Yes.
Jen Smith?
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 682.
Secret determination regarding proposed improvements to well number 2 for the Riverhead Water District. So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Wooten?
Yes.
Jen Smith?
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 683.
Classifies action as type 1 action pursuant to SECRA and authorizes the planning department to circulate a request for the Riverhead Town Board to assume lead agency for the purposes of SECRA review. So moved.
Suffolk Theater.
So we're deeming it
Seconded?
a type 1,
I'll second it.
so that requires a full EAF?
Jeff, do you wanna come up and address it? I believe within it being the secret classifications, that's what it is. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a full EIS.
Yep, the application has been deemed complete. The first part is SECRA. It is a type 1 action. It's in the Riverhead Historic District. Meets the qualifications and criteria for a type 1 action. So the first action by this body is to circulate the request for lead agency status pursuant to SECRA. That's all this resolution does.
Okay.
It doesn't declare positive or negative.
So then it goes through the 30 days?
and it comes back again, and I'm assuming that nobody else is going to want to assume lead agency. The next resolution would be for the town board to assume lead agency, and then schedule a public hearing.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Jen Smith.
Yes.
Resolution
Aye
adopted.
on that one.
Resolution 684.
Come on. Appoints police officers to the police department. So moved.
Seconded?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent.
Well, we saw a lot of great applicants for this, and I say welcome aboard to these 4 new officers. I vote yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Jen Smith.
Yes.
Resolution adopted.
Chief, did you wanna come up and just address this?
Or not?
Just while they start, they can, just a little update of what's, so you, this.
Timeline?
So we're hiring
The timeline?
Sure, 4 officers being hired today, actually. They start on September 9th, which is Monday, the start of the academy. 2 are attending the academy, 2 are already certified, 1 being our part-timer, and the other being a New York City police officer.
Okay, very good. Welcome aboard to everybody.
Excellent. Make sure they see my face and know what I look like.
Resolution 685.
Authorizes agreement with Capital Markets Advisors LLC CMA for fiscal year 2019. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Jen Smith.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 686.
Resolution to pay the bills. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes, please.
Jen Smith.
Yes.
Resolution adopted.
Thank you. At this point, I'd like anybody who'd like to come up and address the board to please come forward. You've been patiently waiting for our public hearings.
Thank you. We have been patient.
Yeah.
Eric Biegler, 110 Park Road, Riverhead, New York, in the beautiful community of Reeves Park. Those of you who don't know me. I didn't know that the day after summer ended, 2 o'clock meetings were going to be so intense and so long. Not usually that way. I usually come in at the end of the summer and talk about summer issues and summer conditions and things that went on during the summer. On my notes, I say, welcome to Tumbleweed Tuesday, but today's Wednesday. I was here yesterday thinking the meeting was yesterday, and it's not. So it's
Well, hopefully
Wednesday.
at least got a drink afterwards for
But
Tumbleweed
Tumbleweed Tuesday was great, by the way. In case those of you who don't know about it, you just look it up. Thank you very much for a wonderful summer. We have some issues, some things to discuss, but first thing I want to do is just thank the town of Riverhead. I want to thank the Recreation Department. Fortunately, I don't have any lifeguards to recognize this year for saving anybody. Nobody attempted to drown. Nobody did drown. I'd like to thank the police department for their efforts and patrols, the code enforcement officers for coming down and keeping things in line as best they could. I especially would like to thank the Buildings and Grounds crew. They've done an excellent job in maintaining the 9/11 Memorial Park at the front of the community. I want to put a shameless plug in that on next Wednesday at 6:30, we will be having our candlelight vigil. We'll be gathering on Marine Street and Sound Avenue at about 6:15, walking down Park Road, having a short ceremony at the Memorial Park, and then adjourning for the evening. I know it's Wednesday, a school night and work night, so we're gonna make it quick. I'd also like to thank, though, the Buildings and Grounds people, because they did an excellent job in repairing the access ramps to the beach at Reeves and to the beach at Roanoke after the huge storm last week. It was virtually unpassable at Roanoke. Reeves was a little better. They came right out right away within a matter of days and had the thing fixed, and it's absolutely better than I've ever seen it. So thank you. You did a great job with taking care of the beaches this year, and that segues me into a couple of little issues to discuss about the beaches. Number one, the bathhouse at Reeves, vintage, circa 1965. I'm sure that's on the agenda to be taken care of next year. We have a new septic system, which is great, but we have a non-handicap accessible bathroom that people can't use, so hopefully we can take care of that for next season.
It was bid out once, and the bids came back higher than expected, so we had our engineer department, looked over it, they reviewed it, they felt that some work could be done in-house, so it's just gone out for rebid, so we're just waiting for the bids to come back
Great,
on that.
and I mean, it's almost to the point where we're getting close to closing it down, so for next year, we're knocking on wood, good start date is like July 4th, perfect start date to fix it. The bushes and shrubbery down at Reeves Park are completely overgrown. And I'm not just talking about subtle little trims, I'm talking about shrubs that have been overgrown for years now. And I believe in my non-professional horticultural experience, these bushes need to be knocked down to like almost nothing, maybe 4 to 6 feet of trimming. We have signs that are non-visible. We have beautiful lights that go down the access ramp, but they are covered by bushes. More importantly, there is a part at the end of our beach where there is pedestrian access that crosses a ramp where vehicles travel. The bushes are clearly this high on either side, and when you have little munchkins running down that are this tall, the vehicles can't see them. They go slow, but it's very hard to stop on the slippery rocks and the cobbles. So I think Buildings and Ground could take a nice look at it. Don't rush out tomorrow and do it. Think about it, plan it, go out there during the winter and knock these bushes down to the bottom level because these bushes are ground cover. They hold the sand together. If they become too tall, they move around in the wind and the roots become unstable. And it defeats the purpose of the erosion. If you bring them down, they become nice and thick. Please put that on the list of things we need to do down at the beach. While we're talking about access ramps, I want to talk a little bit about the access to the beach and vehicles on the beach. We are very fortunate in the town of Riverhead that the Riverhead residents are able to drive their vehicles on the beach in certain spots. We know we're fortunate to have that privilege. There are very few places on Long Island that allow us to. And those of us who take pride in the ability to be able to do this do not take advantage of it. It's the others that do not get the permits, do not understand the permits, and just drive down the beach, not obeying any of the laws. Enforcement has been very lax in this area. I think it needs to be addressed for next year. I think we need to take a good, long, hard look at how we can address it and what we can do to pretty much curtail this abuse of accessing the beach. Using the beach all the time, I take more garbage off the beach than I bring down. That's not the case with a lot of the people who access the beach with their vehicles. The next part I want to talk about is parking. And parking permits, especially at Reeves and some of the smaller beaches that we have in town, is very restrictive. We have 38 parking spots at Reeves Beach. You can go down there on any weekend morning and find a lineup of people from out of state looking to buy non-resident day passes, as many as 10 to 12 people waiting there. That's 1/3 the parking spots for Riverhead residents to come down and enjoy that they're not able to do because we're selling day passes to out-of-town residents at a very inexpensive rate.
We did, I know that you had brought this up, we did address it with the recreation department. It was later in the year, when the season was starting, so they said that after the beach season this year, they would go back and take.
What's the day pass, $35?
$35.
But I think what they're suggesting is only residential parking or the full summer permit.
Yeah, you have some beaches that have huge amounts of parking, and you could certainly capitalize on it and bring people out to them. But you also have small beaches such as Reeves and Wading River that can't handle the Riverhead residents alone, let alone extra burdens. I also want to mention a little bit about our resident parking permits. There are certain codes being violated by the people who dispatch or issue these permits. I had some pictures that I had sent to you. Some of the board members have it. I think it needs to be addressed and needs to be looked at. And what I'm proposing to this board today is that we put together a committee that can review several things. The code as it's written for beaches, there's a lot of ambiguity in the code, a lot of non-clarity in the code, and I think it needs to be rewritten in a way that we can all understand it. I have examples, but I don't want to go through them all right now. I'd like to be part of that committee. I'm offering my time. I think code enforcement and the police being present so that we can talk about how they would like to go and enforce some of these code violations. Recreation to determine what we can do is either restricting non-resident day passes or making it so that we don't put our young people who are working for us in harm's way. And this is another big fear I have. You have young people, 14, 15 years of age, issuing these permits, collecting cash. Something's going to happen at one of these beaches. You're also asking them to make calls as to whether they're going to issue a permit or not issue a permit. You are also asking them to direct people where to park and how to park. And you're opening them up to some major confrontation. I know it's not their job. I know none of their parents would want them in these confrontational points. We have to look at a way of addressing that. I think if we had a pre-season committee get together and talk about all of these issues so that we can go into next summer with a clear focus on how we're going to address these things. That's my proposal to the board today. I think it's something you need to consider. And as I said earlier, I would volunteer my time to do it. I have nothing else to add except thank you again. It was a great summer for 2019. I look forward to working with all of you for 2020 to see what we can do to make it even better.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Nice knowing you.
I know where you live.
I do. I know where you live.
Good afternoon, Mike Foley, 43 Woodlawn Drive in Reeves Park, and I'm a member of the Board of Directors of Sound Park Heights. And every Labor Day weekend, the Board of Directors meets just to go over some things that went well, that did not go well, and that maybe we could address. And Eric did address most of them. As far as revenue is concerned, Eric really touched on those Jeeps that are on the beach illegally. Eric, 2 weeks ago, said there were 4 SUVs down by the wrecks without passes. That's $2 grand. The penalties are $500 a truck for driving on the beach without a permit. I know the town's always looking for revenue as well as you should. And I know that the code enforcement and parking patrols have been increased. We should find a way, when these things are noticed by people on the beach, that a call can be made to somebody to come down and write that ticket. Because as long as they continue unabated, they're just gonna continue and increase. I mean, that's one of the things we saw here. An increase in out-of-towners coming down and abusing the beach, abusing the parking. And I just wanted to throw just a couple of quick stats at you. Eric said there were 38 parking spots in the Reeves Park Town Beach parking lot. There's 38 parking spaces and 3 handicap spaces for a total of 41. In Iron Pier, there are 102 parking spaces, 6 additional parking spaces that accommodate trailer-sized vehicles, and 2 handicap spaces. So it would seem to me that we could probably reduce the amount of handicap parking in Reeves Beach from 3 to 2, and for you to address the inadequacy, if you deem it so, of only 2 handicap spaces out of 104 regular spots on Iron Pier. We're not looking to move the problem, but we are looking to find a parking lot in in Riverhead that can accommodate the out-of-towners without really imposing on the townspeople. And I'm not talking about Reeves Park specifically, I'm talking about the town of Riverhead. With this small parking lot, I don't see any reason why we can't have a sign, at least an experiment, something that you spoke about, Laura, at a civic roundtable, to try and stop day passes in Reeves Park and move them to Jamesport, move them to Iron Pier, where there are many more parking spaces available for those people to go. It might also take them out of their comfort zone, because really, although we have had a very good summer on Reeves Park, there have been some very close call confrontations. We're out-of-towners with boats, with outboard motors, were pulling into where our kids were swimming. It happened the weekend before Memorial Day when I was there with my 7-year-old granddaughter in there. 3 guys going between the ropes of the Riverhead Town Beach, west through our Sound Park Heights private beach. And I had to go into the water and wave them off. None of them claimed to speak English. They do understand sign language when you get angry. So these are things I really do think would be beneficial to the town of Riverhead and would certainly start to break up some of the bad habits that are happening in Reeves Park specific right now. So I'd ask that you take a look at that. And Eric's idea of coordinating the police department and buildings and highways and all of these departments to get a common sense approach to handling this thing on a coordinated basis, I think would be valuable for the entire town. So I hope you'll consider that. I have something personal to discuss right now, and that's got to do with the Industrial Development Agency. I left a message yesterday before what I thought was the board meeting about just a question about the tax abatements as they follow through over the years. If an IDA tax abatement is granted in year 1, and in year 3 the purpose of that business that was given the abatement changes, should the abatement go unabated, or should the abatement be revisited and stopped if the purpose of the abatement is no longer in play? And I'll just mention the cider house. I'll start with this. The small restrictions that were put on the cider house, I will acknowledge have been followed. He has not extended his hours. He has not put speakers on the back. 2 of the things that were kind of stopped by the planning department, while others were allowed without permit, without permission, and just granted afterwards. But now you take a look at, part of his business has been sold to Cisco. His abatement took place before the pizza ovens were put in, before this cider tasting room became something bigger than what the IDA was led to believe it was. So now that all of this additional revenue has been realized by the owner, that's what our country is all about. But shouldn't those tax abatements be removed now that the intent of the tax abatements are no longer in play?
It is the charge of the IDA to follow through when the abatements are going, because there's always projections that they have to do, whether it's jobs or other things. So there is a scope of conditions that they are supposed to attain, and they're supposed to be reviewed by the IDA each year.
There's a report.
There's benchmarks all along the way.
Yeah.
Well,
There's a
and
report.
certainly, the reason I mention this now was that I have not received a call back by the ADA. The call was made yesterday morning, so I understand it's a part-time thing, it's not a full-time position.
No, it's a full-time position.
Well, the director is.
The executive
Okay,
director.
well, I was just, again, wondering if once a 10-year abatement with a decreasing tax consequence is put in place, are there ways of rescinding it because the purpose of the business have changed? And if that is true, I'm not looking to claw anything back, but this 100 diminishing down to 0 was instituted.
It actually increases, I mean, right.
Well, it goes from 0 taxes to 10% taxes to 20%
Right, so it actually
taxes.
increases.
Yes.
Each
So-
one-
You're saying if they become so successful that they shouldn't get any break?
Well, I'm saying that the intent of the tax abatement has changed by the way that building and that business is now being run. And because of that, the margins that have increased, because when the abatement was granted, there were no pizza ovens in there. They had a processing facility for vegetables that has since been peeled off and sold to Cisco. And the additional revenue derived from the sale of a portion of that business, and the increased business derived by the accessory to accessories that were granted during the course of this entire process, really, to me, diminishes, if not eliminates, the need for a tax abatement. And seeing that it started in 2016, so he paid nothing in 2016, 10% in 2017, 20% in 2018, and he's at a 30% tax rate in 2019.
I don't know what he was granted. Do you know what he was granted?
He was granted a
10-year,
10-year.
10%?
A 10-year, 10% diminishment. So it went from 0% in year 1 to 100% in year 10.
Wow.
So right now, he's at a 30% year, and it's my opinion that if he changes the intent and the purpose in 2019 in year 3, then from 2019, January 1st, all of those abatements should be taken away, and he should be put back on the full tax rolls. So, you know, just something I wanted to mention, the one thing I did find out is that it is revisited every year. I didn't know that
Yes.
because
Yes, no, there's
these were,
benchmarks.
thanks, Jim. These were some of the questions I had that I haven't had answered by them yet. And I'll look forward to getting an answer from them and then taking it up if necessary with this board again.
I would actually, I sit on it, I will have them, I actually want to pull the tax records when it was a vacant Blackman building, what the properties was, and then what it was when the use got changed. And I'm sure there was an increase from what we were getting, and then find out what the zero and how that goes up over the 10 years. I'd like to get all that information, that'd be good.
Well, that'd be great, and hopefully they'll respond to me. I have a handful of questions I won't bore you with. And finally, as an individual homeowner in Reeves Park, I'm on Park Road, and all the street lighting was changed 2 weeks ago. And the street lighting is now glaringly bright. Oh, I'm not sure if there's any dark skies issues because nothing is pointing up, but because of the height, I feel like I'm being interrogated in my own backyard at night now. And I know that there are people that like that light and the ambient light that goes beyond it. But my yard where I sit is 60 feet east of Park Road. And the light is, honest to God, blinding at night. So I'd certainly be willing to purchase covers that focus the light straight down on Park Road and away from the ambient light of the neighbors that want that. Who should I talk to about that?
That's being done by our street lighting department.
Street lighting.
Engineering, yep.
Thank you very much for your time.
And if I can just tell you that every applicant that receives IDA benefits throughout the town of Riverhead, and I believe there's 16 of them now, that they're required to do an annual reporting justifying the jobs. So if they said they were gonna create 50 jobs, they have to show those 50 jobs. If they said that they were going to be making changes and renovations, all of that is monitored and sent to the state of New York, and there are deadlines for all of that. So every applicant that receives IDA benefits has to report to the executive director of the IDA that they're in compliance with what they got their IDA benefits for, and then that information goes off to the state of New York, who also oversees it.
Jody, do you know if any of these tax abatements were eliminated because of non-compliance?
I do not know that, but I think Jim is gonna.
I don't know that.
Okay.
I know some have because business have failed. I mean,
Oh,
the whole
absolutely.
idea for the IDA is to help get a leg up. but
Sure. Well, listen, I
sometimes
think we're on
it
the
doesn't
other side of the coin with the side house. And again, I'll acknowledge the fact that the restrictions that were put on them, they have been in compliance with. So for that, I'm thankful. But I'm just looking at those tax breaks right now and what they are benefiting in profit and in changing of their business plan. And I'm not sure that they're still viable. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Afternoon, John Cullen, Northville, also with the Riverhead Noise Task Force. This past Monday was helicopter hell, as they say. With the weather down, the helicopters came down a lot lower. Luckily, this summer, we've had a lot of clear weather on Fridays, Mondays, and Thursdays, but this past Monday was just torture. And I'm just asking, have you had any communication with Jeff Smith?
You know what, where did we end up with the last conversation?
We were communicating back.
John, if you could come up to the mic so we could hear you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Our office was communicating back and forth. I believe we suggested a public meeting and then we haven't heard a response back. So,
And that was just right before the holiday,
right,
about a week
shortly
before.
after our last board meeting, I believe.
Yeah.
Did
So
you hear
that's-
anything back from Gillibrand and Schumer after we sent the letter to them?
We have not received anything back yet.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
It's all Trump's fault.
Thank you.
Well, it seems like the FAA, Eastern Region Helicopter Council, Gillibrand, Schumer, and even Zeldin's office are having the hardest time getting things to work for us out here. We are being absolutely tortured this past Monday. I know Friday's weather's not gonna be all that hot. The money over safety issue with the helicopters is a one-way thing. They don't give a damn, and we're suffering more and more. There are 300 more helicopters and seaplanes that flew over Riverhead this July than the past July. And those are numbers coming from the airport manager in East Hampton. 300 more each. I'm sorry, 150 helicopters, 150 more seaplanes flying over our houses. And with the weather being so low, and this week, on Friday, we're gonna get nailed with the winds and low clouds. It's gonna be torture, and you just don't know what it's like to have a helicopter, double engine, 600 feet above your house, full throttle. And if you're in my feet right now, you'd be where I am. It's just been, Monday was tough. The summer has been very bad, but the weather's kept them a lot higher. Things need to change. And in the big picture, if things don't change, I hope that you all push for the closure of East Hampton Airport. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert Skinner, I live in Jamesport. John's at the head of the C1, C2 allegedly abandoned route. I'm in the middle. I would like to know, Councilperson Giglio mentioned that you have sent letters to roughly how long ago, and
I would say the letter probably went out, I don't know, maybe a month, 3 weeks ago, something like that. And as you said, with Jeff, we've been just trying to get the meeting going. Even if they're agreeable to not come as a public dialogue back and forth, we will also take just a conversation, that we can open up to the public without questions and answers, if that's what they need to come out here and listen to us.
it is absolutely imperative that the elected people from Riverhead Town get an audience with the Eastern Region Helicopter Council. It seems as though Southold has the access, East Hampton has the access, and yet it is clear from the maps that John has had that it is the community of Jamesport that is the one that continues to take the vast brunt, and I'll say Laurel as well, okay, because I saw the statistics of people in Laurel with a time point, that the time points for the 5 units were over Iron Pier approximately 3 minutes before, and it was bang, 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 so they hit Iron Pier, and then they hit Laurel. Newsday just ran a letter from the editor from Jim Underwood from the Southold Committee, and I believe, I would have to say, in whatever dealings you have with Southold, I think that was the most inclusive, comprehensive commentary I've heard from Southold, and Mr. Underwood and his committee deserves all the comments, all the positivity that they can get for that, for making Riverhead a specific part of their communication. We have less than a year, okay, to get the FAA's attention. 2020 is going to be it. We don't know what's going to happen. The fact that you're now waiting 3 weeks to hear something back from Schumer and Gillibrand is more than disturbing. Individual stakeholders who live under the C1, C2 line, we depend on the relation that our elected officials have, because we can't get anywhere. We don't have the juice to be able to get anywhere with these people, okay? And yet they continue to abuse us with this noise, with no regard for their money at our expense. And this continues on. Now, the material that I submitted to you 2 weeks ago, there's going to be another one of those from my desk going to the FAA directly, and I'm hoping to get that done by the end of the week. I've coordinated it with John, all right, so we're both on the same.
We can certainly attach a letter to it also from the town.
Okay, and so I will bring it in when I'm done. The momentum that we have now, thanks to you folks, okay, because the prior supervisor's administration taking the tack that, well, gotta go talk to the feds. Thank goodness that Councilman Hubbard at that time saved the type of material that he saved to allow us to be able to do 2016 contrast with what is going on now, because the ERHC with East Hampton is telling us that it's better than last year. It may be, you can manipulate the statistics so far, But from 2016, 17 to now, it is definitely a degradation for us. And the inability for us to get that across to the Eastern Region Helicopter Council and FAA with any kind of acknowledgement is now getting to the point after a summer like this, and especially a weekend like we've just had, where you don't know where to turn, you don't know what to do. All right, the calling, the letters, it's just, the momentum is there, but we're not getting the recognition for this issue, okay? And they continue to make the money, all right? So when Eastern Region Helicopter says it's not about the money, it damn well is about the money. And I appreciate the efforts that you made on our behalf, and I hope that we can get something done with this, because this past weekend
And the
was
previous weekend also.
just incredible.
Yeah. So we will continue our efforts. We will step them up a bit, see if we can get somebody's attention. You know, we figured with the holiday, we would wait just the week from Jeff Smith, but we'll see what we can do, and if it has to be the adjustment of the type of meeting we have to get them here, we can do that.
And I know that in certain past meetings, you've always said, address the town board, okay? I'd just like to address the room for a moment. The gentleman from Reeves Park who said that, oh yeah, we're starting to see a lot of, if you don't help us out with this, okay, and go to the website and get the numbers and submit complaints, then you're not doing us any good.
And they've started
And
to
you
space them out over the town of Riverhead also. They're even that C1 route, they're also going a little bit further west now, so I think there's actually even more planes and
They're going all the
helicopters
way to
coming
Rocky
across.
Point.
Yeah.
Allegedly, okay, because I had somebody in Rocky Point, after the one event that's in that packet, he said, thanks a lot, now we're starting to see them in Rocky Point. That's not the answer. The answer is to get them to go around Orient Point to keep them over water, because if they're not over my house, they're over their house, they're over somebody else's house, there's just as much of a chance of that unit falling out of the sky as he is over my house, okay? And if it falls in the water, too bad.
And people
But
are
if you-
seeing more dangerous things. I've been following all the emails, but even for me, one flew over last week that went below the level of the bluff.
And there is hardly ever at all anything that goes east of the Halleckville Preserve.
Yeah, right.
And apparently this is a revelation to people, okay? But from my positioning, okay, which is on purpose, and to be able to make those statements, it's like this is some sort of, this is not, it has to either go around Orient Point or South Shore Route total, or as John said, close the damn airport.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else want to address the board? Seeing nobody, can I have first and second to close the
So moved.
town board meeting?
Move to adjourn.
All those in favor? Opposed? So carried.
We're all going.
Yeah, but then I gotta go to